Tonight, Republicans forced to defend former President Donald Trump's controversial comment while discussing economic tariffs that there would be a bloodbath if he lost the 2024 election.
We're going to put a 100% tariff on every single car that comes across the line, and you're not going to be able to sell those cars if I get elected. Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it.
Trump's campaign pushing back, saying he was only talking economics, writing Joe Biden's insane EV mandate will slaughter the American auto industry. Even Mike Pence, who says he will not endorse his former boss, coming to Trump's defense.
The president was clearly talking about the impact of imports devastating the American automotive industry.
Was that clear to you? Because it was a little muddled.
So that was Donald Trump at his rally, and he mentioned there's going to be a bloodbath while he was talking about the auto industry, mainly how Joe Biden is destroying the auto industry, mostly with his electric vehicle mandates, because everything's got to be electric, okay? No more gas-powered vehicles. That's what he meant by bloodbath. So I want to talk about it today, and I want to react to a video from MSNBC with Al Sharpton about the term bloodbath, because we all know what the mainstream liberal media is talking about. They're taking that one word and they're twisting it and turning it and basically playing a game of twister with each other to see how many fairy tales they can tell about the word bloodbath. So let's get into it. Clearly, what Trump meant when he said bloodbath was a major economic disaster, a market bloodbath. With the devastation that the Biden administration is causing in the auto industry, that's what this country is looking forward to. If Joe Biden continues to allow China, and Americans for that matter, to work on his EV project, everything's got to be electric, American auto industries will collapse. And that, my friends, will turn into an economic bloodbath. But you cannot tell the mainstream libs that. The MSNBC, the CNN, they will take a word and twist it into something violent. And yes, bloodbath has other definitions, and you can see them on your screen. But that is not what Trump meant. But these people are grasping at straws. They are so infected with the Trump derangement syndrome that they don't have anything else to lean on. So they're going with a word, and they want us to believe that there's going to be basically mayhem in the streets, which is the furthest thing from the truth. But try telling that to a Democrat. They're running scared. They know they're in trouble, and they are looking for anything to try to change the minds of the American people. The American people that know Joe Biden is an absolute failure. So I want to react to this video of Al Sharpton and Senator Warnock from Georgia talking about the bloodbath comment. And these two men were part of the big George Floyd is a hero, George Floyd is a saint. How dare they say that George Floyd was a criminal? These are the men who condoned violence in the streets, burning down billions of dollars worth of property, injuring innocent people, fighting with the police, and they were also on top of the let's defund the police. We don't need them anymore. These two guys think we're stupid, and they want us to believe everything they say.
Raphael Warnock, Democrat of Georgia. Senator, thank you for joining us this evening. Let me start.
Good evening.
Let me start with, as we wait for the president, I have to ask you about remarks made by his opponent, former President Trump, at a rally in Ohio last night. The presumptive Republican nominee warned there would be a, quote, bloodbath, unquote, if he loses the election. Now, he claimed he was talking about the car industry, but repeated the word several times.
He repeated the word several times to try to get his point across to people like this. What makes these people think that Donald Trump is this big, violent animal They insist, even to this day, saying he led an insurrection on the Capitol January 6th. He has not been charged with insurrection. He's not been convicted of an insurrection. These Democrats have put people in prison longer than some drug dealers and murderers have been put in prison. This is the Democratic Party that thought all the violence, all the George Floyd riots were okay. But now they want to tell us that Donald Trump is planning a bloodbath if he loses the election. This is what I'm talking about mainstream liberal media. They don't want the truth. Why are they not being fact-checked? If any Republican was on talking like this, they would immediately be fact-checked and debunked. But no, because it's Al Sharpton, one of the biggest frauds there have ever been, he's been around forever, preaching, and all he does is care about himself and telling lies. You know it, and they all know it. But they love this guy because he buys into all this liberal nonsense.
Also said some migrants aren't people. At another point, he called them animals.
I got to stop it again. Some migrants aren't people, and he called some of them animals. Well, let's think about that for a moment. What about the illegal from Venezuela who has been charged with killing Laken Riley while she was out for a run on the campus in Georgia? That person is not an animal? Absolutely, he's an animal. That person is not human. If what they say he did to that girl is true, prison is too good for him, in my book. But they want us, again, to accept everybody, whether they're criminals or not. We have to accept them and basically lay out the red carpet. Because God forbid you call someone an illegal immigrant. Because I think the term they want to use now is the newcomers, which is absolutely ridiculous.
What's your reaction to these comments, Senator?
Well, Maya Angelou said, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Well, Donald Trump has shown us who he is time and time and time again.
Yes, that's true. Donald Trump has shown us who he is time and time and time again. When he was president for 4 years, there were 0 wars. There was next to no illegal immigration. People had to wait to come into this country like they should be doing now. Okay? There was no defund the police movement. It was pro-police. But Donald Trump is such a bad person. People had money in their pockets. Our economy was booming. All of a sudden, in 2020, Joe Biden takes office and everything collapses, but they still want to blame Trump for all of it. That's the hypocrisy of this party. They want to tell us lies, and they expect us all to jump on board with it. And if we don't, of course, we're the bad people.
And we ought to take him seriously. This is the insurrectionist president. This is the man who egged on the most violent insurrection on our capital, or attack on our capital, since the War of 1812. And
now, have you ever noticed when these people talk about the insurrection, just like Kamala Harris did, she basically put January 6th on the same level as 9/11. That's how smart she is. But they never said one bad thing about the fraud BLM, about the riots they caused, about Antifa being bussed into cities and towns by people who I think you may know who they are, or they might be. I'm not going to say their names. That was okay with Warnock and Al Sharpton. But because a bunch of people went to the Capitol, and if you watched all the videos, the majority of them were given tours of the building. The ones who caused the violence, as far as I'm concerned, were planted there by the Democrats. That's my opinion, and to this day, I'll still believe that.
That violence has now metastasized in this kind of continual attack on the dignity and the integrity of our democracy through voter suppression laws, which I'm engaged in fighting, and so are you in so many ways.
And let's talk about that too. Voter suppression laws. The Democrats of today want you to be able to go into a voting booth or go into a polling place without an identification and vote. How is that okay? And how are they even calling that a democracy? Why do you think the borders are open? Why do you think Biden's not trying to stop it? Because they want anyone and everyone, regardless of their citizenship, to be able to vote in a U.S. election without showing any form of identification. And these people talk about democracy. This is the disgrace of Congress. This guy right here is one of them. They don't care about democracy. They care about keeping an old man who has no idea what he's doing in the White House so people like Warnock and Al Sharpton can continue to do what they do, which is most likely enrich themselves and forget the rest of the people. They could care less about the American citizen or their so-called democracy. Since when do you not need an ID to vote? You need an ID for everything, okay? Everything. But these Democrats want you to believe that it's racist to ask someone to show an identification in order for them to place their vote.
And so this election is a binary choice, and we're just being reminded time and time again about how much is at stake. Nothing more.
And that's it for that clip. I just can't understand. They just keep pushing out this propaganda that I hope that people read through their lies and read through their bullshit, because that's all it is. So if the millions of people that the Biden administration has let in this country since he became president, if they allow all of them to vote, what do you think is going to happen? The Biden administration is going to continue for another 4 years. And all that's going to do is continue the downfall of our country. Our military is having trouble recruiting because they're using transgender people to try to recruit people into the military. I don't care if you're trans, straight, gay, lesbian, black, white, blue, I don't care. But that's not how you recruit people into your armed services to build the strongest fighting force in the world. But again, these Democrats don't care. It's all about their bottom line and nobody else's.